What if the greatest power you'll ever possess isn't loud, visible, or praised by others, but silent, unshakable, and entirely within your control? This question invites viewers to challenge modern assumptions about strength and sets the tone for Stoic self-mastery. It connects naturally to themes like self-reliance, calmness, and inner peace. Imagine a life where your peace doesn't depend on people's approval, your schedule isn't hijacked by others' demands, and your worth isn't determined by noise, but by quiet action. This speaks directly to boundaries, solitude, purposeful living, and embracing silence, all recurring ideas in your 10-part structure. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, overlooked, or emotionally drained, this isn't just a video. It's your roadmap back to focus, freedom, and a version of yourself the world can't shake. It connects the emotional pain viewers feel with the promise of personal transformation, making them curious to continue watching the full journey. 1. Rediscovering self-love. Have you ever paused to ask yourself, what if the love I've been searching for has been within me all along? In a world obsessed with romance, where movies, music, and social media endlessly glorify the idea of finding the one, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that happiness lies in the arms of another. We are told that a fulfilling life hinges on romantic love, that being loved by someone else is the ultimate validation of our worth. But what if that narrative is incomplete? Stoicism gently urges us to turn inward. True happiness, it teaches, is not something handed to us by others. It blooms from the quiet soil of self-awareness and inner acceptance. Real love begins with understanding yourself, honoring your imperfections, and celebrating your growth, not in arrogance, but with a deep sense of self-respect and compassion. Rediscovering self-love is not about rejecting others or isolating yourself. It's about redefining the foundation on which all other relationships are built. Picture someone who has just endured heartbreak, a relationship has ended. And with it, a dream. The initial instinct may be to question one's value, to wonder, was I not enough? But when rooted in self-love, the narrative shifts. Instead of collapse, there is clarity. Instead of self-doubt, there is resilience. Self-love doesn't erase pain, but it changes how we carry it. Rather than viewing heartbreak as a sign of personal failure, it becomes a passage to rediscovery. You realize that your worth wasn't tied to the presence of another person, it never was. Your essence, your identity, your light, they remain untouched by who chooses to stay or leave. That is the quiet power of self-awareness. When you begin to genuinely love yourself, you no longer chase relationships to fill a void. You start to attract and foster connections that are authentic, those rooted in mutual respect, not desperation. Imagine reconnecting with a close friend you've unintentionally neglected, perhaps because you were too caught up in chasing an idealized romance. With a deeper love for yourself, you realize the beauty of such friendships. A laugh shared over coffee, an honest conversation, a comforting silence. These moments become rich and meaningful because they are built on sincerity. Self-love doesn't stop at the personal level. When you nurture love within, you find your heart expanding outward. You begin to notice others more, your neighbor who lives alone, the coworker silently struggling, the stranger who just needs a smile. Stoicism teaches that as we grow inwardly, we grow in our capacity to connect with others compassionately. Self-love manifests not in grand declarations but in small, consistent acts of kindness. Maybe it's offering to help someone without expecting anything in return. Maybe it's volunteering your time, not for recognition, but because you understand suffering, and you know how healing a simple gesture can be. Self-love becomes the spark that ignites empathy. And when love flows freely within you, it naturally spills into the world. Loving yourself doesn't mean rejecting romantic love. It means refusing to make it the sole pillar of your happiness. It's choosing to live a life that feels full even when you are alone. It's discovering joy in the quiet rhythm of your own routine, a morning stretch by the window, journaling your thoughts under candlelight, or losing yourself in a book that stirs your soul. In fact, self-love empowers you to enter relationships from a place of wholeness, not dependency. Instead of asking someone to complete you, you walk beside them as an equal, sharing your journey rather than clinging to theirs. You recognize that love, in its purest form, is not about ownership but about presence, appreciation, and mutual growth. Think of your own life. Recall a moment when you felt truly at peace, perhaps watching the sunset, your phone turned off, the world fading into stillness. In that moment, no one had to validate you. You weren't proving anything, fixing anything, or pleasing anyone. You were simply being. That sense of peace? That's the result of self-love in action. Rediscovering self-love is also about reframing failure. It's realizing that mistakes don't define you, they refine you. That you are allowed to outgrow people, places, and even versions of yourself. It's giving yourself permission to let go of guilt, to forgive your past, and to trust that you are worthy of goodness, not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. You don't need to achieve perfection to be lovable. You don't need to be in a relationship to feel complete. You are allowed to take up space, to speak your truth, to choose yourself, over and over again. And each time you do, you strengthen the foundation of your inner world, making it a place of calm in a world that never stops shouting. Let us not forget, when you love yourself fully, you teach others how to love you too. You show them your boundaries are sacred, your dreams are valid, your presence is enough, and perhaps, most importantly, you model for others the kind of unconditional acceptance they should also offer themselves. So, ask yourself now, what does loving myself look like today? Maybe it's resting instead of pushing through. Maybe it's journaling, meditating, setting a boundary, or simply whispering to yourself, I am enough. You don't need to wait for a special moment, a milestone, or a miracle to begin this journey. You only need one quiet, intentional decision to turn inward with kindness. Because from that decision flows the kind of love that doesn't fade, doesn't falter, and doesn't depend on anyone else. Let self-love be your compass, your refuge, and your fire. In it, you will find strength. In it, you will find peace. And in it, you will finally come home to yourself. 2. Finding peace in solitude and time. Have you ever found yourself asking, where has all my time gone? Days rush by in a blur of responsibilities, emails, meetings, errands, deadlines, leaving you with little more than fatigue and a quiet, lingering sense of disconnection. In the modern world, We are conditioned to chase productivity, to stay busy, to keep moving, but at what cost? Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Time, more than money, status, or possessions, is our most precious resource. It is the only currency we can never earn back. Every moment spent without intention is a moment lost forever." Yet in a world that glorifies noise and distraction, silence and solitude have become rare treasures. We avoid them, fearing boredom or discomfort, but in doing so, we also avoid ourselves. True peace, authentic, lasting peace, is not something we stumble upon in the chaos of the external world. It is something we uncover in the stillness of our own soul. Solitude is not loneliness. It's not isolation or withdrawal. It is a powerful space, a sacred retreat, where we can reconnect with what truly matters. In solitude, you are no longer performing for others, no longer pleasing or proving. You are simply being, fully, honestly, and completely. Imagine beginning your day not by grabbing your phone, but by taking a few quiet moments to breathe. You step outside, feel the morning air, listen to the sound of birdsong or the wind in the trees. In that silence, something awakens. You start to feel grounded, alive, present. That is the power of intentional solitude. It recalibrates your mind and soul. When you embrace solitude, you begin to see your life with clarity. You begin to ask deeper questions. Am I living according to my values? What truly brings me joy? Where is my time going? And is it serving me? These questions, though simple, can be life-changing. Consider this: a woman, burnt out from years of corporate life, decides to take a solo trip into the mountains. With no Wi-Fi, no agenda, no one to impress, she hikes quietly through the trees. Alone with her thoughts, something shifts. She realizes that for years she's been living according to other people's expectations, chasing promotions, following a script. But in that stillness, she hears her own voice again, the quiet calling of her true passion, writing. And for the first time in years, she picks up a pen. That's what solitude gives us. It brings us home to ourselves. In today's culture, being busy is worn like a badge of honor. We celebrate hustle. We glorify multitasking. But Stoicism reminds us to slow down, to be deliberate. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." The soul is not a place of noise, but of stillness, and when we learn to dwell there, we discover a peace that no circumstance can shake. The truth is, time passes whether we are aware of it or not. Every moment spent mindlessly scrolling, every hour lost to distractions, is a moment we can never reclaim. What if, instead of trying to fill every second, we allowed ourselves to fully experience it, to savor it? Try this. Set aside just 10 minutes today. No phone, no music, no screen. Just sit with yourself. Let your thoughts come and go. Let discomfort rise and fall. It may feel strange at first, but slowly, you'll begin to feel your inner world settle, like sediment falling in still water. Solitude gives us more than peace, it gives us presence. And from presence comes direction. Because when you finally hear your own voice again, you remember what you truly love, what matters most to you, and what you've been neglecting. Perhaps it's your health, perhaps it's a long-lost hobby, a relationship, or a dream. These realizations don't come when we are rushing. They emerge only in silence. And just as solitude gives us clarity, time gives us power. When used intentionally, time becomes a tool for transformation. 10 minutes of reading each day can make you wiser. 30 minutes of walking can restore your energy. An hour of reflection can reset your entire week. But only if we claim that time, only if we stop letting it slip through our fingers. The Stoics saw time as sacred. To them, wasting time was not just inefficient, it was dishonoring the life we've been given. When we squander our days in distraction or superficial pursuits, we are not just being careless, we are betraying our potential. Ask yourself now, if today were my last, how would I want to spend it? Would you spend it buried in stress, replaying arguments, obsessing over emails? Or would you spend it creating, loving, resting, learning, being truly alive? In the quiet spaces of our lives, we have a chance to start again, to realign, to reconnect. You don't need to escape to a mountaintop or quit your job to find peace. All you need is the courage to be still, to pause, to listen. There is a kind of joy that lives only in the present moment. It doesn't require permission or perfection. It only asks for your attention. And when you give that attention to yourself, without judgment, without noise, you begin to rediscover the strength and beauty that's been waiting patiently beneath the surface. In solitude, you will not find emptiness. You will find expansion. You will not find weakness. You will find wisdom, and you will understand that time, when honored, becomes your most faithful ally. So today, dare to be alone, dare to sit in silence, dare to reclaim your time, not in the name of productivity, but in the name of peace. Because in that peace, you'll find not only who you are, but who you've always been meant to be. 3. Building strength through self-reliance. There comes a point in everyone's life when they must answer a fundamental question. Can I stand on my own? Not in rebellion, not in bitterness, but with quiet assurance, grounded, centered, and whole. In a society that constantly encourages dependency on approval, on validation, on companionship, it's easy to forget that true strength doesn't come from how many people support you. It comes from knowing you can carry yourself even when no one is watching. Stoicism teaches us that self-reliance is not about isolation or cutting off the world. It's about returning to your core, discovering that within you lies everything you need to face life's storms. It's about realizing that the foundation of peace and strength is built not through others, but through your own choices, your discipline, and your mindset. Picture this: a day when everything seems to be going wrong. You're criticized at work, your efforts go unnoticed, and those you expected to be there are suddenly silent. In such moments, what truly sustains you? It won't be applause from others. It won't be compliments or sympathy. It will be your own resilience. The inner voice that says, I can handle this. I am enough. Self-reliance begins with a shift in mindset, from asking for rescue to asking yourself what you can do next. It's the ability to sit with your discomfort, examine your thoughts, and still choose forward movement. It's not grand or dramatic. It's a quiet, persistent strength. You don't have to live like a hermit to embody self-reliance. You only need to change the nature of your dependence. Instead of seeking constant reassurance, begin building inner confidence. Start small. Brew your tea in the morning and enjoy it alone, not as a sign of loneliness, but as a ritual of presence. Take walks with no destination, just to clear your mind. Write your thoughts in a journal, not to impress anyone, but to know yourself more deeply. These small acts, seemingly insignificant, are where self-reliance is forged. In each of them, you remind yourself that your contentment is self-generated, not outsourced. Have you ever felt alone in a crowded room? That aching realization that, despite being surrounded by people, you feel unseen? That moment teaches us something vital, even in the company of others. True connection must first exist within. When you enjoy your own company, when you trust your own judgment, when your inner world is full, then no absence can shake you. This is the secret the Stoics understood well. They didn't reject society, but they prepared their hearts to remain steady when society failed them. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look." That strength is your self-reliance. Self-reliance doesn't mean rejecting help. It means not being dependent on it for your identity. It's knowing that support is a blessing, not a necessity. You can receive love, but your self-worth doesn't hinge on it. You can work with others, but your peace doesn't depend on their praise. In fact, when you become more self-reliant, your relationships improve. Why? Because you no longer expect others to complete you or carry your burdens. You engage with people out of love, not out of need. You listen with presence, not with anxiety. You support others without draining yourself. And you set boundaries without guilt. And yes, the journey towards self-reliance can be uncomfortable at first. We're taught from an early age to seek validation, to please others, to lean on external structures. But true growth often begins with discomfort. The first time you say no and honor your boundaries. It might sting, but it's a step towards strength. The first time you face a problem without running to someone else, it might feel heavy. But that's where your inner muscles begin to develop. Ask yourself now, what areas of my life have I handed over to others? Where have I stopped trusting myself? It could be your emotions, your finances, your dreams. Wherever you find dependency, there you'll also find a hidden invitation to reclaim your power. One way to cultivate self-reliance is through self-discipline. Create simple routines that serve your growth, even when no one is watching. Wake up early to move your body, not for external approval, but because you honor your vessel. Save money not to show it off, but to affirm that you are your own provider. Learn a new skill, not to prove your worth, but to expand your potential. Another powerful tool is self-reflection. At the end of each day, ask yourself, did I act from my own values or from someone else's expectations? Over time, these reflections build a deep sense of integrity. You stop reacting, and you start responding with clarity, calm, and confidence. You also begin to enjoy the quiet things in life, the things that don't shout for attention but nourish you deeply. Sitting by a window as rain falls, reading a book that stirs your mind, walking without headphones, just to hear the world as it is. These are not luxuries, they are foundations. When you can find joy in the simple, you become unshakable. Remember this. Being self-reliant does not mean you are invulnerable. It means you are anchored. The winds of life may blow, but you remain rooted. You may still feel pain, but you no longer crumble beneath it. So let this be your quiet revolution, not to push others away, but to pull yourself inward, to stand firm not with bravado, but with truth, to wake up each day knowing, I am capable, I am whole, I am free. Self-reliance is not the end of connection, it is the beginning of authentic living. When you no longer seek completion from the outside, you begin to radiate something rare, peace. And that peace inspires others not by what you say, but by the silent example of your life. So begin today. Brew that tea, take that walk, trust yourself again, and let your journey towards self-reliance become the strongest foundation you'll ever build. 4. Learning to say no with confidence. When you begin building self-reliance, something unexpected happens. You start to hear your own voice more clearly. The noise of external expectations fades, and the values that once felt distant now rise with power from within. But to protect this emerging clarity, you must learn one of the most transformative skills of all, the ability to say no. It may sound simple, but for many, saying no is one of the most difficult things to do. We fear being disliked, misunderstood, or judged. We worry about hurting others or appearing selfish. And so, we say yes, out of guilt, out of habit, or out of fear. But every unnecessary yes is a quiet betrayal of your time, your energy, and your truth. Stoicism reminds us that freedom begins where unnecessary obligation ends. Saying no is not a rejection of people, it is an affirmation of self. It is a way of declaring, I know my values, and I choose to honor them. Marcus Aurelius once asked, ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? This question is a compass. It cuts through the fog of social pressure and emotional confusion. It helps you see clearly. Is this request aligned with my purpose? Or is it a distraction that pulls me away from my path? Imagine this scene. It's a busy day. Your schedule is already full. A colleague, who has a reputation for procrastination, asks you to stay late and help finish their task. You feel the familiar pull, the need to please, the discomfort of saying no. But you pause. You ask yourself, is this necessary? Am I honoring my priorities? Or abandoning them? When you say yes to everything, you are not being generous. You are diluting your power. You stretch yourself thin, emotionally and physically. Over time, this leads to exhaustion, resentment, and even a loss of self-respect. But when you say no with honesty and clarity, you are choosing integrity over approval. You are drawing a boundary, not to push others away, but to stay close to your own values. Boundaries are not walls, they are bridges to healthy relationships. They let others know how to engage with you respectfully. They say, this is where I begin, and this is where I end. And those who truly respect you will not only understand your no, they will value it. The power of no also teaches others that your time and energy are sacred. That you don't give them away lightly. That you expect relationships to be based on mutual care, not obligation. Saying no doesn't always require a confrontation. Sometimes it's as simple as a gentle refusal. Other times, it's a quiet step back. It could mean declining a social invitation you don't feel aligned with, or stepping away from a toxic conversation, or even choosing to rest instead of attending one more event. And yes, the first few times you say no might feel uncomfortable. You might feel selfish or uncertain, but growth is rarely comfortable. Think of it as training a new muscle. At first, it's shaky, but with practice, it becomes steady and powerful. Here's the truth. No is not a weapon. It is a shield. It protects your time, your well-being, and your peace of mind. It's what allows you to focus on what truly matters instead of being swept away by what doesn't. Remember, every time you say no to something that drains you, you are saying yes to something that nourishes you. You are saying yes to rest, yes to creativity, yes to the relationships and work that truly reflect who you are. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." When you say no to obligations that don't serve your purpose, you reclaim control. You create space for authenticity, for depth, for real connection. Ask yourself, is there someone in your life who repeatedly oversteps your boundaries? A friend who only calls when they need something? A coworker who takes your silence for consent? These are the moments when your voice matters most. Saying no isn't cruel, it's courageous. It's what allows you to show up fully in the places where your heart truly belongs. You cannot pour into others if your own cup is empty. Protecting your energy is not selfish, it's essential. And saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a person with priorities. A person who respects their time. A person who is committed to living on purpose. Over time, you'll notice something powerful. As you grow more comfortable with no, you'll attract people who respect your boundaries. You'll stop being surrounded by those who expect you to stretch and shrink for their comfort. Instead, you'll be met by those who say, "I see you. I respect your space, and I want to meet you there." You'll also notice a shift within yourself. Less guilt, more clarity, less resentment, more peace. Saying no clears the clutter from your life so that what remains is intentional and meaningful. So practice. Start small. Decline an invitation that feels more like obligation than joy. Step away from a draining conversation. Refuse to explain yourself when you know your no is rooted in integrity. You don't owe anyone a justification for honoring yourself. And remember, you don't have to be loud to be firm. You don't have to be cold to be clear. A soft-spoken no can be just as powerful as any shouted protest. The Stoics believed that self-respect is the foundation of inner peace. And self-respect begins with the courage to say no. So the next time you feel pressured to say yes, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, is this aligned with the life I want to live? And if the answer is no, then let your words reflect your truth. You deserve to live a life that feels spacious, purposeful, and free. And sometimes, the first step toward that freedom is just a single word. 5. Caring for yourself inside and out. When you learn to say no with clarity and conviction, something profound begins to unfold. You reclaim your energy. And with that reclaimed energy comes a powerful question. What will I do with the space I've created for myself? That's where the next chapter of your transformation begins, with the quiet, dignified art of self-care. In a world obsessed with appearances and performance, the idea of caring for yourself is often misunderstood. Many associate self-care with luxury, indulgence, or vanity, but real self-care, the kind rooted in Stoic wisdom, is not about impressing anyone. It's not about curated routines or Instagram-worthy habits. It is a radical, daily declaration: I matter. I am responsible for my well-being. To care for yourself inside and out is to build a life that supports both your spirit and your strength. It means tending to your needs not out of ego, but out of respect. It is an act of preservation, of long-term thinking, and of deep inner discipline. Stoicism teaches that true self-care begins with simplicity, intentionality, and the practice of virtue. The three core virtues, discipline, moderation, and wisdom, aren't just abstract ideals. They are living, breathing principles that can guide your daily choices. Discipline is what gets you out of bed when it's easier to stay under the covers. It's what motivates you to take a walk when your body craves movement. It's in the decision to prepare a nourishing meal, not because someone else will see it, but because your body deserves to be supported. Moderation reminds you that more isn't always better. It teaches you to listen to your body, to eat with intention, to rest without guilt, and to enjoy pleasures in their rightful measure. It's what helps you say, just enough is enough. And that's a powerful thing in a culture of excess. Wisdom, the crown jewel of Stoic virtue, is what helps you discern what truly nourishes you and what merely distracts. It allows you to filter through trends and expectations and ask, what does my soul truly need right now? True self-care is not a performance. It is a return to your core. Think about the last time you walked slowly in nature, no headphones, no destination, just your breath, your steps, and the world around you. That moment, though simple, nourishes your nervous system, calms your mind, and brings you back to the present. Or consider how a well-prepared meal, eaten without rush, can feel like an offering, a message to yourself that says, you are worthy of time, attention, and care. These practices may not seem groundbreaking, but they are the foundation of inner strength. You cannot cultivate peace if your body is running on empty. You cannot think clearly if your mind is constantly overstimulated. A weary vessel cannot house a powerful spirit. Start with the basics. Are you getting enough rest? Are you feeding yourself with foods that support your vitality? Are you drinking enough water? These are not luxuries. They are necessities. You owe yourself the same care and attention you so freely give to others. In the fast pace of modern life, it's easy to neglect these fundamentals. Deadlines build, expectations grow, and before you know it, your meals are rushed, your sleep is broken, and your body begins to carry the weight of a life lived out of balance. But even in chaos, you can choose to pause, to recalibrate, to protect the one vessel you carry through this life, yourself. Beyond the physical, self-care also lives in how you tend to your inner world. Do you take time to reflect? To journal? To sit in silence and simply be? Even a few minutes a day spent in introspection can make a profound difference. Writing your thoughts clears the mental clutter. Deep breathing resets your nervous system. Silence gives your soul room to speak. These practices are not escapes, they are fortifications. They help you build the kind of inner world that can withstand outer storms. And yet, the beauty of Stoic self-care is that it doesn't ask for perfection. It doesn't demand elaborate routines. It invites you to begin right where you are, with small, steady actions that anchor you in the present. A 5-minute stretch, a walk after dinner, a quiet moment with tea. These are not trivial, they are transformational. As you begin to care for yourself with intention, you'll notice a powerful shift. You'll start to feel stronger, not just in your body, but in your decisions. You'll begin to carry yourself differently, speak more mindfully, and show up for others without draining yourself. Because when you are full within, you no longer need the world to fill you. This is what makes Stoic self-care different from surface-level wellness trends. It's not about escape, it's about embodiment. It's not about controlling the outside world. It's about mastering the inside one. Ask yourself now, what have I done today to care for my body, my mind, my spirit? If the answer is not much, don't judge yourself. Start with one thing, one glass of water, one deep breath, one walk around the block. Over time, these small acts will create momentum, and that momentum will become identity. Remember, your body is the temple through which your soul expresses itself. Your mind is the compass through which your choices are made, and your spirit, the quiet observer behind it all, deserves to feel nurtured, not neglected. So don't wait for a crisis to start caring. Don't wait until you burn out, break down, or collapse from the weight of the world. Choose now. Choose yourself, not in ego, but in reverence. Because when you care for yourself inside and out, you are not just surviving, you are building a life of grounded strength. And that strength becomes a beacon for others. Yes, but most importantly, for yourself. 6. Managing personal finances with ease. As you begin to care for yourself inside and out, with rest, reflection, nourishment, and discipline, you naturally arrive at a new crossroads. How do you care for your future self? And in that question lies one of the most overlooked, yet powerful forms of self-respect, financial responsibility. Just like your physical and emotional well-being, your relationship with money directly affects your sense of peace, purpose, and freedom. While the world often equates wealth with material abundance, Stoicism offers a different definition. As Epictetus wisely said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. True financial freedom doesn't come from having more, it comes from needing less. At its core, financial mastery is not about greed or gain, but about alignment. It's about ensuring your money habits reflect your values, not your impulses. It's about creating a life where your resources support your growth, not sabotage your peace. Consider how often we spend money to soothe emotions, to fill voids, impress others, or distract ourselves from discomfort. A bad day can lead to impulsive shopping. Social pressure can lead to overspending on things that add no real value. But when the high wears off, we're left with clutter, guilt, and an empty bank account. Stoicism invites us to flip that script. Rather than letting desire control our decisions, we are taught to observe it, question it, and ultimately master it. Every financial decision becomes an opportunity to ask, does this align with the life I want to build? Or am I just trying to escape something? Imagine this. It's payday. The money hits your account. You feel the urge to celebrate, to treat yourself, because you've earned it, right? But before swiping your card or filling your cart, you pause, you breathe, and you ask yourself, what do I actually need? What will still matter a month from now? In that moment, you've just practiced financial self-awareness, and that's where liberation begins. Creating a personal budget may not sound glamorous, but it is one of the most empowering acts of self-discipline. It puts you in control. It replaces chaos with clarity. It gives you a clear map of where your energy, in the form of money, is going, and whether it's fueling your dreams or draining them. Start simple. Track your expenses for a week. You may be surprised at where your money is going. Are your spending habits reflecting your goals or your distractions? Are you investing in your growth or just trying to impress others? Once you see the truth, you can begin to reshape it. Create categories: essentials, savings, education, leisure. Allocate intentionally. Plan for the future, not just the moment. And most importantly, pay yourself first. Before the world gets a piece of your income, make sure you're building a foundation for yourself, a savings account, an emergency fund, a path to freedom. This isn't about hoarding wealth. It's about removing fear. It's about sleeping at night knowing that if life throws you a curveball, you're prepared. That peace of mind, that quiet confidence, is far more valuable than any new gadget or brand name item. Financial self-care also includes learning. Read books about personal finance. Listen to experts. Ask questions. You don't have to be a genius to take control. You only need curiosity and commitment. The more you understand how money works, the less it controls you. And when money is no longer your master, you become free to live with integrity and intention. But Stoic financial wisdom goes beyond the numbers. It's deeply connected to desire. When you examine your desires honestly, you begin to notice how often they're shaped by comparison. Someone posts a new car, you feel behind. A friend buys a house, you feel inadequate. But the Stoics remind us, these are illusions. What others have has nothing to do with what you need to be whole. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more. That is poor." You are not defined by what you own, but by how you manage what you have. When you free yourself from constant craving, you discover a new kind of wealth, contentment. And contentment leads to generosity. When your needs are met and your soul is grounded, you can give without fear, whether it's to family, friends, or causes you believe in. Giving from abundance, not obligation, is one of the greatest rewards of financial freedom. Ask yourself now, what does financial freedom mean to me? Is it having more, or is it having peace? Is it looking rich, or feeling secure? The answers may surprise you. It's also important to remember, managing money is not just about today. It's about creating options for tomorrow. The freedom to choose work you love. The flexibility to travel or rest. The ability to support loved ones or pivot when life shifts. These freedoms are not given, they are earned through steady, intentional choices. Let's be clear, financial management isn't about being frugal for the sake of deprivation. It's about being mindful, spending on what truly matters, investing in the life you actually want, not the one you think you're supposed to want. So the next time you reach for your wallet or tap your card, Pause. Ask yourself, am I acting out of impulse or out of intention? That single pause can save you more than money. It can preserve your peace. In the end, your financial life is a mirror of your inner life. Chaotic spending often reflects inner unrest. Thoughtful spending reflects self-awareness. The Stoics believed in mastering the self, and your relationship with money is one of the most honest places to practice that mastery. Because when your finances are in order, your mind is lighter, your options are greater, and your future is no longer a source of anxiety, but a space of possibility. 7. Maintaining dignity in relationships. When you begin to take control of your financial life, spending with purpose, saving with intention, and freeing yourself from unnecessary desire, you start to realize something deeper. The greatest wealth isn't stored in a bank account. It's stored in your inner world. And one of the richest forms of inner wealth is something no amount of money can buy: dignity. Dignity is not something the world can give you. It doesn't come from applause, titles, or praise. It isn't earned through perfection or performance. Dignity is a quiet, immovable force. It lives in how you treat yourself when no one is watching. And more importantly, it lives in how you choose to show up in relationships with integrity, with self-respect, and without bending who you are for the comfort of others. In a world that often rewards people-pleasing and surface-level charm, dignity is a radical act. It is the decision to be true to your values, even when it costs you popularity, approval, or convenience. Think about the last time you said yes when you meant no. The last time you laughed at something that made you uncomfortable, stayed silent when you should have spoken up, or tolerated behavior that violated your standards. Those moments don't just affect your external life, they erode your inner foundation. You walk away from them feeling hollow, even if no one else notices. Why? Because you betrayed your own truth. Stoicism reminds us that we cannot control how others treat us, but we can always control how we treat ourselves. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And the same is true of dignity. Don't chase it in others' eyes. Embody it in your actions. Maintaining dignity in relationships means being grounded in your self-worth. It means refusing to shrink, chase, or perform. It's not about being cold or distant. It's about showing up with clarity. This is who I am. This is what I believe. This is how I deserve to be treated. And if someone can't respect that, it's not your job to change who you are. It's your job to walk away. Let's look at real-life examples. Imagine you're at work, and your supervisor asks you to do something unethical, to manipulate a report, to hide a mistake, to stay silent about something wrong. You know that complying might help you avoid conflict or even win favor. But you also know that doing so would cost you your peace, your integrity, and your sleep. Choosing dignity might mean saying no. It might mean facing consequences. But it also means standing tall, knowing that you chose truth over comfort. Or consider a romantic relationship. Maybe you're with someone who constantly criticizes you, mocks your dreams, or pressures you to be someone you're not. You keep hoping they'll change. You keep justifying their actions. But deep down, you know, you've been bending so much. You hardly recognize yourself anymore. Dignity means pausing and asking, is this love? Or is this control disguised as affection? When you choose dignity, you stop begging to be seen and start honoring your own vision of yourself. And something beautiful happens when you do. The right people start to notice. People who appreciate honesty over performance. People who aren't threatened by your strength, but inspired by it. People who love you not for how well you please them, but for how fiercely you live your truth. These are the relationships worth keeping, not the ones that require masks or compromises, but the ones that allow you to be your full self. Flaws and all. And what about friendships? Dignity in friendship means walking away from gossip, refusing to participate in jealousy, and not enabling harmful behavior just to keep the peace. It means having difficult conversations when needed. It means being kind, but not at the expense of being clear. Dignity also teaches you that not every relationship is meant to last. Some people will misunderstand your boundaries. Some will call you arrogant for having standards. Let them. You are not responsible for managing their perception. You are responsible for protecting your inner peace. Seneca wisely said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you are capable of improving." This is the Stoic way of choosing company, consciously, not passively, with discernment, not desperation. Of course, maintaining dignity doesn't mean you'll never feel pain. You may still experience rejection, heartbreak, betrayal, but when you act with dignity, pain no longer destroys you. It strengthens you. It confirms that even when others chose to dishonor you, you chose to honor yourself. And there is immense power in that. So how do you begin to cultivate dignity? It starts with self-knowledge. Get clear on what you value. What are your deal breakers? What behavior will you no longer tolerate from others and from yourself? Then, practice speaking your truth, firmly, but kindly. Let your yes be honest. Let your no be clear. You don't need to justify your boundaries to everyone. You only need to live them consistently. And finally, forgive yourself for the times you failed, for the times you compromised, stayed too long, said too little. Those moments were part of your growth. Use them not as anchors of shame, but as lessons that brought you here, stronger, wiser, more whole. In the end, dignity is not about control. It's about alignment. It's about waking up in the morning, looking in the mirror, and feeling proud of who you are, regardless of who approves. Because when you maintain dignity in your relationships, you do more than protect your peace. You inspire others to rise to their own truth. You become a lighthouse, not by yelling, but by standing firmly in your light. 8. Embracing calmness in the chaos of life. When you choose to live with dignity, rooted in your values and undeterred by the opinions of others, you begin to walk through life with greater self-assurance. But dignity, like any inner virtue, is constantly tested by the world around you. Challenges arise, people disappoint, circumstances spiral beyond your control. And in those moments, the next lesson from Stoicism becomes essential: the art of remaining calm in the face of chaos. Let's face it, the world can be messy. Unexpected bills, difficult people, canceled plans, broken promises, bad news. Life has a way of throwing curveballs when we least expect them. And while we cannot control the storm outside, we can always choose the state of our inner sky. This is the core of Stoic resilience. You may not control what happens, but you always control how you respond. Epictetus said it best, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. These words are simple, but they are life-changing. Because once you accept that external chaos is inevitable, you stop trying to outrun it. You stop wasting energy resisting the uncontrollable. And instead, you begin mastering the only thing that has ever truly been yours, your mind. Picture this. You're stuck in traffic. Horns blaring, time slipping away, an important meeting waiting on the other side of the city. You feel the tension rising. Your chest tightens. Your thoughts spiral. But then, you pause. You take a deep breath. And you ask yourself, can I change this? The answer is no, but what you can change is your posture, your breath, your choice to suffer or not. This moment, small as it seems, is a spiritual victory. You chose to remain calm. You refused to be owned by your circumstances. This is not weakness, it's power. Because anyone can scream, panic, or blame, but the truly strong are those who remain still when the world around them trembles. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. It's a truth that separates the reactive from the grounded, the flustered from the wise. And yet, staying calm doesn't mean you ignore your feelings. It means you meet them with maturity. You acknowledge fear without feeding it. You recognize anger without acting from it. You feel sorrow, but you don't let it define you. In this way, calmness becomes not the absence of emotion, but the intelligent management of it. One of the most profound Stoic practices to cultivate this state is premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This technique is not pessimism. It's preparation. It means imagining the worst-case scenario, not to dwell in fear, but to build resilience in advance. Each morning, take a few minutes to ask yourself, what might go wrong today? Maybe someone will criticize me. Maybe I'll lose a client. Maybe a plan will fall apart. And then, calmly visualize your response. See yourself staying centered, breathing through it, responding with grace. By rehearsing adversity, you rob it of its power. When challenges arise, you are not blindsided. You are ready. You've met this moment before, in your mind. And now, you can meet it in real life, with strength. It's like training for battle, not against others, but against your own impulsive reactions. With time, you'll find that things which once disturbed you deeply now barely stir the surface of your calm. Think of the ocean. At the surface, waves crash and churn, but deep below, the water remains still. Stoic calmness is that depth. It's where your peace lives, not because the world is quiet, but because you are. This practice of calmness has ripple effects across every area of your life. In relationships, you stop reacting with hostility and start listening with patience. At work, you stay composed under pressure, earning trust and respect. In daily life, you stop chasing perfection and begin accepting reality as it is, imperfect, unpredictable, and beautiful. Ask yourself now, when was the last time I let something small ruin my peace? A rude comment, a delayed reply, a minor inconvenience. How often do we surrender our calm to things that, in hindsight, barely matter? The Stoics challenge us to guard our peace like a precious treasure. Not to be cold or indifferent, but to be wise in choosing what deserves our emotional energy. Try this practice. The next time you feel overwhelmed, stop and name what you're feeling. Then ask, is this in my control? If it is, act. If it isn't, release it. This single question can dismantle mountains of anxiety. And don't wait for a crisis to begin. Cultivate calm in ordinary moments. Breathe intentionally. Step outside for 5 minutes. Sit in silence without distractions. These habits are like sharpening your sword before the battle comes. So when the chaos arrives, and it will, you're not a victim. You're a warrior of peace. But remember, calmness is not about perfection. You will slip. You will react. That's human. The key is to return, to breathe again, to recenter, to learn. Every moment is a chance to practice again. True peace is not the absence of problems. It's the presence of poise. It's a deep, unwavering trust in yourself, built through daily effort, daily reflection, and daily alignment with what truly matters. The world will always offer you reasons to be upset, but you can learn to become the kind of person who doesn't take every offer. Let the noise rage outside. Let the storms come, but inside, let there be stillness. Because in that stillness, you will find clarity, you will find strength, and most of all, you will find freedom. 9. Speaking less and doing more with purpose. When you learn to embrace calm in the chaos, to respond instead of react, you start to uncover an even deeper truth about strength. The strongest voices are often the quietest. The most powerful presence doesn't always demand attention, it earns respect through action. And this brings us to a principle that the Stoics held close: speak less. Do more. In our modern world, words are everywhere. Promises flood our conversations. Bold declarations echo across social media. Speeches, slogans, and sales pitches often make more noise than action ever does. But Stoicism invites us to slow down, observe, and ask a critical question. What do these words actually mean, if they are not followed by action? Epictetus, ever grounded in practicality, said it best: don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. This is not just advice, it's a challenge. Live what you believe. Don't just talk about values. Practice them. Don't boast about discipline. Show up with consistency. Don't make promises you won't fulfill. Let your actions speak so clearly that words become unnecessary. Think about the last time someone made a promise to you that was never kept. Perhaps a coworker swore they'd help you with a project, but vanished the moment things got difficult. Or a friend offered support during a hard time but went silent when you truly needed them. These moments sting not because of the absence of help, but because of the presence of empty words. Now, contrast that with the person who shows up without saying much. The one who listens more than they talk. The one who quietly gets things done. The friend who doesn't offer grand speeches but holds space when it matters. Which of these truly earned your trust? In the Stoic view, trust is not built on promises, it's built on patterns. There is dignity in doing things without announcing them. There is grace in not needing to be seen while you build something meaningful. This doesn't mean you hide from the world, it means you stop performing for it. It's easy to fall into the trap of narrating your intentions instead of living them. to talk about all the things you plan to do, without actually doing them. But here's the truth. Progress doesn't come from planning alone. It comes from motion, quiet, deliberate, consistent motion. If your dream is to write, write. Don't wait until you're ready to tell the world. Let the work speak. If you're building something, build in silence. Let the result carry your message. If you want to change your life, do it in steps so small and steady that you surprise even yourself with the outcome. You don't need to announce your transformation to be valid. The change will be visible, not because you declared it, but because you lived it. Silence, in this way, becomes a form of strength. When you observe rather than react, when you listen rather than interrupt, when you act rather than explain, you become unshakable. The Stoics were masters of restraint not because they lacked passion, but because they understood that power lies in precision. When you speak too often or too carelessly, you dilute your message. But when you reserve your words and sharpen your actions, your presence gains weight. People lean in, not because you asked them to, but because you gave them reason to. Let's bring this into practical life. In relationships, don't argue endlessly to prove your point. Live your values. Over time, your consistency will say more than any defense ever could. In your career, don't talk about how hard you work. Show it through results. Reliability and integrity. In your personal growth, don't post every win or process every struggle out loud. Sometimes, the most sacred growth is the kind that no one sees until it speaks through your energy. And when others speak too much, when they exaggerate, promise, or boast, be still. Watch. You don't need to correct or confront. Time will reveal the truth. Action always unmasks intention. In this way, restraint becomes wisdom, and wisdom becomes a magnet. You'll begin to notice that those who matter, the ones who respect depth, honesty, and substance, will be drawn not to your noise, but to your calm, not to your claims, but to your character. A Stoic does not rush to defend their worth. They know it's proven through action. A Stoic does not make promises to be liked. They act in alignment, even when it's unseen. A Stoic does not chase validation. They walk their path in silence, knowing that truth does not need an audience. But let's be honest, this is not always easy. We live in a culture that often rewards spectacle over substance, and it's tempting to join the chorus of noise just to feel heard. But your greatest impact will come not from matching the world's volume, but from mastering your own presence. Ask yourself now, what have I been talking about that I haven't yet acted on? What could I quietly do today that would move me closer to who I want to become? Even a small act, done with purpose, is more powerful than 1,000 intentions left unfulfilled. So let your actions be your loudest words. Let your life become your message. Walk into every room with the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to announce their worth, because they've already proven it in how they live. Let others talk. Let others promise. Let others seek attention. You will build. You will serve. You will show up fully, even when no one is watching. Because the most powerful voice you have is the life you choose to live. 10. Connecting with the tranquility of nature. When you choose to act with purpose rather than speak for validation, you begin to move through life more silently, but also more powerfully. Yet even the most focused minds, the most disciplined hearts, need renewal. And sometimes, the most restorative wisdom comes not from books or mentors, but from the quiet, unspoken teachings of the natural world. In a time where life is busier, louder, and more overwhelming than ever, nature offers a sacred return, a chance to reconnect with something timeless, something undisturbed by opinion, pressure, or chaos. The Stoics knew this deeply. They often turned to nature not only for inspiration but as a reminder of harmony, acceptance, and inner peace. Nature doesn't rush, it doesn't explain, it doesn't try to prove anything, and yet, it thrives. Imagine yourself walking through a forest at dawn. The air is crisp, sunlight filters through branches, casting golden patterns on the ground. You hear birds, not just background noise, but distinct, melodic conversations. The wind brushes gently against your skin, and for the first time in a long time, you exhale. Deeply, freely. In that moment, you are not your title, your worries, or your responsibilities. You are simply alive, present, part of something bigger. That is the gift of nature. It strips away everything false, until only truth remains. When we immerse ourselves in the natural world, we're reminded of what truly matters. Trees don't envy one another. Rivers don't force their direction. Mountains don't apologize for taking up space. Each element exists in full presence and quiet purpose. And we, too, are part of this ecosystem, not above it, not outside of it, but within it. Nature teaches us acceptance. The changing seasons mirror our own lives, periods of bloom, loss, rest, and renewal. Spring doesn't mourn winter, and autumn doesn't cling to summer. Each season surrenders to the next with grace. When we resist change, we suffer, but when we observe nature, we learn to flow, to trust that nothing is permanent, and that peace lies in surrender, not in struggle. Look at how a river flows. It doesn't fight the rocks in its path, it bends, curves, adapts. Still, it moves forward, quietly, powerfully. That's how we, too, can live, with direction, but without resistance. This is not weakness, it's wisdom. Seneca once said, "We part with our tranquility just when we ought to keep hold of it. We waste it as though it cost nothing." Nature reminds us how to guard that tranquility, how to find it not just in isolation, but in connection. Have you ever watched the sunrise in stillness? Or listened to rain tapping against a window without distraction? These small, seemingly ordinary moments can feel sacred. In them, the mind settles, the heart softens, and the soul remembers itself. Because the calm you seek is not far away. It's already within you. Nature simply helps you return to it. It's easy to forget this when we live in cities full of deadlines, notifications, and noise. But even a small effort, a walk in the park, a moment under the stars, your feet in the grass, can shift your entire energy. The world slows down, and in that slowness, you begin to hear a softer voice, your own. This connection to nature isn't just spiritual, it's practical. It grounds you. When emotions run high, step outside. When your mind spirals, look at the sky, watch the birds, feel the breeze. Let the vastness of the natural world remind you how small your worries are, and how temporary every storm becomes. The Stoics often spoke of aligning with the natural order of the universe, living in harmony with physis, or nature. That didn't just mean the external environment, it also meant understanding human nature, our impermanence, our vulnerability, and our place in a much larger system. When we reconnect with the earth, we remember that we don't need to control everything. We don't need to have all the answers. Like the trees, we can root ourselves where we are. Like the ocean, we can reflect what's around us without losing our depth. There's also healing in simplicity. Think of the last time you sat under a tree or watched clouds pass. No performance, no expectations, just presence. How often do we give ourselves that gift? You don't need a mountain retreat or a hidden cabin to access this peace. Nature exists in every sunrise, in the rhythm of your breath, in the silence between words. All you have to do is notice it. Try this. Spend just 5 minutes each day in quiet observation of something natural. A leaf, a breeze, the stars. Let go of thinking. Just observe. You might be surprised at what begins to shift within you. As you continue this journey inward through self-love, solitude, financial wisdom, and personal discipline, let nature be your mirror and your guide. Let it remind you that stillness is strength, and presence is power. And above all, let it remind you that peace is not something to chase. It is something to return to. Like a stream finds the ocean, you will find your way back when you slow down enough to hear the quiet truth that has always been waiting for you. So step outside, inhale the world as it is, and let it show you the serenity that lives, not in the future, not in perfection, but in this very breath, this very step, this very now. Conclusion. The quiet revolution begins within you. You've just walked through 10 timeless lessons, 10 doors into a life of deeper clarity, resilience, and peace. Not one of them relied on chasing the external world. Not one of them told you to seek validation, wealth, or praise. Instead, each one invited you inward to the quiet, steady place where your true power has always lived. This is what Stoicism offers in a world full of noise and distraction, a return to yourself. And if you've come this far, it means something within you is awakening, a hunger not for more, but for meaning, a longing not for approval, but for alignment. Let's take a breath here and remember what you've just unlocked. You began by rediscovering self-love, not the shallow kind shaped by ego, but the enduring kind born from understanding who you are, honoring your story, and embracing both your strength and your flaws. That kind of love doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It simply radiates. Then, you turned to solitude and time, and you saw how precious every passing moment is. You learned that peace doesn't arrive when the world quiets down, but when you do. In silence, you remembered how to listen. In stillness, you reclaimed your direction. You built self-reliance, not through isolation, but through the quiet decision to trust yourself, to stop outsourcing your worth, to walk alone not because you must, but because you can, and because sometimes, that's when you grow the most. And with that strength came boundaries, the sacred act of saying no with confidence. No to distractions, no to guilt-driven obligations, no to people who ask you to shrink. And in that refusal, you discovered your most powerful yes, the one you give to your own truth. You stepped into self-care, not as indulgence, but as discipline, as respect. You saw that to care for your body, your mind, your soul is not vanity, but virtue. In tending to yourself, you built a foundation strong enough to carry your purpose. And with that stability, you faced your finances, not with fear, but with wisdom. You saw that financial freedom isn't about having more, but needing less. It's about living in control of your resources so they serve your mission, not your cravings. Then came dignity, a lesson in standing tall in every relationship, every interaction, and every moment of choice. You learned that you don't need to bend to be accepted, that your worth doesn't need to be proven, it just needs to be protected. As the world continued to roar, you chose to embrace calmness in chaos. You stopped reacting, you started observing, and with every breath, you built a deeper kind of strength, the kind that doesn't waver when life gets loud. And when the noise tempted you to respond, to defend, to explain, you remembered, action speaks louder than words. You chose to move with intention, to let your life become your message, to speak less, and do more. Finally, you reconnected with nature, and in doing so, reconnected with the truth, that you are not separate from peace. You are not lacking it. It lives in you, just buried under too much urgency, too much comparison, too much noise, and all it takes to return to that stillness is to listen. Blank, underscore, blank. All of these lessons point to one profound truth. You don't need to chase anything to become powerful. You simply need to return to what's always been yours. Your focus, your silence, your strength, your values, your peace. This is your quiet revolution, not in rebellion against the world, but in mastery over yourself. And now, I invite you to take what you've learned and begin to live it. Don't just watch this video and move on to the next one. Pause, reflect, ask yourself, where am I still seeking validation instead of practicing self-worth? Where am I giving away time I can never get back? What silent habits am I ready to build, not for applause, but for alignment? This journey is not one of speed, it's one of depth. You don't have to get it perfect. You don't have to transform overnight. You only need to begin again, as many times as it takes. And the best part? You are not alone. This channel exists because people like you are choosing to rise quietly, with purpose and with power. People who no longer want to be consumed by the noise, but instead want to live with grounded, stoic presence. If this video brought you clarity, comfort, or even just a moment of stillness, I invite you to support this message. Right finger click like to let us know this content spoke to you. Right finger share it with someone who might be feeling lost, drained, or overwhelmed. Right finger, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the upcoming insights, reflections, and tools we'll be exploring together. Every view, every share, every comment builds a stronger, wiser, more connected community, one centered not on noise, but on truth. And before you go, I'll leave you with this. The world doesn't need more people shouting. It needs more people living quietly, courageously, and authentically, like you. Thank you for walking this path with me. Thank you for listening, not just to these words, but to your own inner wisdom. Now take what you've learned and live it boldly, silently, and with purpose. We'll be right here with you.